Imagine you're 22 years old. You're not just a man, you're a god. You've just conquered South America. You're the highest paid striker in the world's toughest league. They call you l'imperatore, the emperor. In Milan, the streets part for you. In Brazil, the children pray to you. You have the strength of a titan and a left foot that doesn't just pick a ball, it tears the fabric of reality. But then, the phone rings. It's August 4th, 2004. Adriano is in a hotel room with his captain, Javier Zanetti. He picks up the receiver. Adri, Dad is dead. Zanetti would later say he had never heard a sound like the one that came out of Adriano's mouth. It wasn't a cry, it wasn't a sob, it was a primal, gut-wrenching scream that seemed to shatter the walls of the room. In that single second, the emperor didn't just lose his father, he lost his soul. This is a story of Adriano Leite Ribeiro, the man who had a 99-shot power in a video game, but a 0% defense against the darkness. This isn't just about football. This is about what happens when the world gives you everything, but the one thing you actually need is taken away. Why did the greatest striker of a generation end up barefoot in a favela, drinking beer on a curb? Was it laziness? Was it the fame? Or was it something much darker? Stick around, because by the end of this video, you won't just see a wasted talent, you'll see a human being who chose peace over a throne that was costing him his life. To understand the fall, you have to understand the climb. Villa Crucero is one of Rio's most notorious favelas. It's a place where life is cheap and hope is a luxury. If you grow up here, you have two choices, the gun or the ball. Adriano chose the ball, but he didn't do it alone. His father, Almir, affectionately known as Mirinho, was his compass. Mirinho wasn't a rich man, but he was a giant in Adriano's eyes. He worked 3 jobs to buy Adriano his first pair of real boots. He stood on the sidelines of every dirt pitch, screaming instructions, shielding his son from the drug lords and the violence that swallowed so many of his friends. Mirinho told him, "You are going to be the best, not for the money, but for us." At Flamengo, the coaches didn't know what to do with him. He was too big for a winger, too fast for a defender, so they put him at striker. And that's when the world started to shake. He was a physical anomaly. He was 6'2" and built like a heavyweight boxer, but he moved with the grace of a gazelle. And then there was the left foot. In Brazil, they started calling it the Hammer of God. In 2001, Inter Milan came calling. They paid 13 million euros for a teenager. They thought they were buying a player. They didn't realize they were buying a phenomenon. In his debut against Inter Milan was against Real Madrid, a friendly. The Galacticos were on the pitch. Zidane, Figo, Raúl. Adriano came on as a sub. Inter won a free kick at the edge of the box. The veteran stepped aside, the kid from the favela stepped up. That ball was clocked at 111 miles per hour. It didn't just go in, it threatened to break the goalpost. The commentator screamed, "Who is this boy?" The answer, he was the heir to the throne. Ronaldo Nazário, the original Ronaldo, was struggling with knee injuries. Brazil needed a new king. Inter needed a new emperor. From 2002 to 2004, Adriano was unplayable. He went on loan to Parma and scored 23 goals in 37 games. He came back to Inter and became a one-man army. He didn't need teammates. He would pick the ball up at the halfway line, shrug off 3 defenders like they were mosquitoes, and blast the ball into the top corner from 30 yards out. Defenders were literally terrified of him. Ivan Cordova once said, he was a mixture of Ronaldo and Zlatan, but with more power than both combined. But while the world saw a titan, Adriano was still just a boy who wanted to make his dad proud. Every goal, he looked for Mirinho in the stands or called him immediately after the game. Then came the summer of 2004, the peak of the mountain.
This is the moment Adriano became immortal. Brazil sent a B team to the Copa América. No Ronaldo, no Ronaldinho, no Kaká. It was Adriano's team now. He scored 7 goals in 6 games, but the final against Argentina was the masterpiece. 93rd minute. Argentina is winning 2-1. The clock is ticking down. The Argentinian players are already celebrating. The trophy is being engraved. Boom! The stadium exploded. Brazil won on penalties. Adriano was the top scorer, the best player, the undisputed best striker on the planet. He went back to Milan a hero. He was 22. He had the world at his feet. And 9 days later, the phone rang. Mourinho was 44 years old when his heart stopped. For Adriano, it wasn't just a death, it was the end of his world. Javier Zanetti, his captain, recalls, "He stayed in that room for days. We tried to talk to him, we tried to pull him out, but he was gone. The Adriano we knew died with his father." But here's the part that people forget, the part that makes this story so tragic. Adriano didn't stop playing. In fact, for the next 6 months, he played the best football of his life. He was scoring 40 goals a season. He was the cover star of Pro Evolution Soccer 6. He was the 99 shot power legend. But it was a mask. Adriano would later reveal, "I was only happy when I was on the pitch, because for 90 minutes I didn't have to think about the void. But the moment the whistle blew, the silence was deafening." He was 6,000 miles from home. He was alone in a cold Italian mansion, and there was a bottle of vodka on the table. Imagine the pressure. Every weekend, 80,000 people expect you to be a superhero. Every newspaper expects you to be the next Pele. But you can't sleep, you're depressed, you're grieving. So you drink. It started with a glass of wine to help him sleep. Then it was a bottle. Then it was whatever he could find. Whiskey, gin, beer. He started showing up to training drunk. Inter Milan loved him so much, they tried to hide it. If Adriano showed up too drunk to walk, the medical staff would put him in the infirmary to sleep it off. The club would release a statement to the press, "Adriano has a muscular injury." It happened once, then twice, then every week. Massimo Moratti, the Inter president, treated him like a son. He spent millions on therapists and private jets to fly Adriano's family to Italy, but you can't cure a broken heart with a checkbook. The emperor was turning into a ghost. The weight gain started, the mispractices, the late night sightings in Milanese clubs. The media, once his biggest fans, turned into his executioners. The wasted talent, they called him, the party animal. They didn't see the man who would sit in his room crying while looking at a photo of a man who wasn't there to pick up the phone. In 2009, Adriano did the unthinkable. He walked away from a multi-million-dollar contract at Inter. He told the world, "I'm taking a break from football. I've lost the joy." He went back to the only place he felt safe, the favela. The world was shocked. Why would a king leave a palace to go back to the slums? Because in the favela, he wasn't the emperor. He was just Adriano. He was Mourinho's son. He signed for his childhood club, Flamengo, and for one magical season, the ghost returned. He led them to their first league title in 17 years. He was the top scorer again. He looked happy. He was playing barefoot in the streets with his old friends. He was eating street food. He was drinking beer on the sidewalk. But the professional world couldn't accept it. They saw photos of him in the favela and assumed he was involved with gangs. They saw him with a beer and called him a failure. But listen to what Adriano said in his Players' Tribune letter. "I don't do drugs. I'm not a criminal. I just want to be at peace. I drink because it's not easy to be a promise that remains in debt." Did you catch that? A promise that remains in debt. He felt he owed the world a greatness he no longer had the strength to carry. In 2011, he tore his Achilles tendon. That was the physical end, but the mental end had happened years before. Today, Adriano is 42. He doesn't have the Ballon d'Or. He doesn't have the Champions League trophy. What he has is his community. People call him a waste. They look at his career and see a tragedy. But is it? We live in a world that demands we be productive at the cost of our sanity. We expect athletes to be machines, ignoring the fact that their hearts break just like ours. Adriano had a choice. He could stay in Europe, keep drinking in secret, keep lying to the world, and eventually he might have ended up dead. Instead, he chose to be unsuccessful in the eyes of the world so he could be alive in his own. The emperor lost his throne, but he found himself. He didn't lose his career to alcohol. He lost it to grief.
Alcohol was just the bandage for a wound that wouldn't stop bleeding. The next time you play a video game and see that 99 shot power, or the next time you see a what-if video about a fallen star, remember this. The greatest strength Adriano ever showed wasn't that left-footed strike against Real Madrid. It was the strength to walk away from the glory when it was killing him. He wasn't a broken genius. He was a grieving son who finally went home. If you ever felt the weight of expectations crushing you, maybe the Emperor story isn't a tragedy. Maybe it's a lesson. Rest in peace, Mourinho. Your son made it home. If this story moved you, you need to see our video on the other Brazilian legends who disappeared, the story of Ronaldinho's secret struggle. Click right here to watch it. And don't forget to subscribe, because every legend has a shadow, and we're here to tell the stories the media forgot. Thanks for watching.